G'day and welcome back to another Dbz Dokkan battle video. In this video we are going to be taking a look at, well, basically the performance of the INT LR Piccolo, or betting heart INT LR Piccolo, and we're going to see just how good he does in the Cell Max event. Now obviously this guy requires a little bit of grind from the World Tournament. So if you haven't done that, then you're going to be finding it pretty difficult to get this guy easy aid. He's a World Tournament exclusive character, and of course he always needs a little bit of extra help from his World Tournament EZA to kind of be pretty good. Now the big thing with betting hard Piccolo is he's clearly very defensively orientated. But before we get into all of that, let's just talk about the Cell Max event, and you're going to get my usual disclaimer, and that disclaimer is pretty straightforward. The Cell Max event is an event that is best taken on by units that have guard, damage reduction, evasion, or a combination of any of these three at very high levels. The Cell Max event is an event that has the first two phases, which traditionally are not considered to be overtly hard, although are relatively hard stages, and they lead into a third phase, which is unironically one of the hardest, if not the hardest, bosses in the game. Because of this, and because of the fact that it doesn't give you enough time to really stack too well, you can't just simply stack your way to victory or build up high levels of defense, because the final phase of Cell Max is a tech type unit. Units that are in type have a natural advantage. Now, with all that being said, let's talk about Piccolo. So it's important to understand with Piccolo a couple things. Firstly, Piccolo is obviously N type. This means that he has a very big advantage against Cell Max. He already has that int type capabilities. Now you might say, oh, but then his guard doesn't really mean anything. But this is not the case. His guard actually does mean something. Guard will reduce damage even further due to the fact that guard has its own damage reduction, as well as providing protection against things like super and extreme class differences. So this is pretty good in general. Now, obviously beyond that, another thing to discuss is his restriction in terms of his defense. So as you guys know, or maybe don't know if you haven't watched my review video, Piccolo requires a Gohan kid to have full access to his defense. He starts out with 200% defense, which is very, very good. He gives all allies 1 key and 20% defense. He will give an additional 20% defense if there's an ally whose name includes Gohan kid on the team, and then if that same ally is in the same rotation, he will guard all attacks as a first slot unit, whilst also giving himself an additional 100% defense. Now this is very straightforward in a sense that it's really honestly quite simple. With a Gohan, he becomes a top tier defensive unit that provides an attack boost to allies and sizable defense. Without a Gohan, he is a relatively good defensive support. That's really about it. So having Gohan is quite imperative. Now right now, unfortunately, the only top tier Gohan available on global is the AGL Gohan kid, and although a great unit, an AGL Gohan kid's not going to do too great in the Cell Max event. He just doesn't have enough time to stack. So what that means is that good old Piccolo, at least right now on global, isn't going to be able to perform at his best. He personally will do quite well, but his team's always going to struggle, because if you have Gohan, then basically you are kind of limited already. So that's just one of the things to factor in. It's not the absolute end of the world. It's not the absolute complete travesty or anything. It's really quite straightforward. It's just that if he does have a Gohan, then things do become a little bit better, which I think is a lot more functional, is a lot more makes him elevated in this event and in many other events. So when the INT Gohan kid or the LR Gohan kid from the anniversary comes out, then obviously it's going to be great, and I think that's going to be a lot better. However, like I said, it is just going to be one of those things whereby we are going to have to wait for Piccolo's true power to come out, at least in the sense of like understanding his top tier capabilities. He'll still be a very good unit. He is still a very solid unit, but beyond that, there's just not anything too ridiculous with him, at least on the surface level. It's not to say that he's bad, it's just that obviously if you don't have Gohan, he's just not got the requisite defense to be a super top tier unit in this event. And obviously without a Gohan, he also unfortunately doesn't have that additional little bit of defense that he needs to make things work. He'll still be a good floating support, a 270k int type unit that is being used in the event against the tech boss. Is always going to be a solid floating support, but he's just not going to have the same impact. And you can see here, he's got great defense, really fantastic. He's going to take the single digits pretty easily. On a super, he would take around 200k. So very, very good from good old Piccolo. Like very solid performance from him. Just the limitation is the fact that he has to bring right now an AGL unit, and that elevation for him is just not really enough to make things work, at least on the surface level. But that's not the end of the world. Like I said, he's still very solid, and we'll just have to see how good he can be when the new Gohan comes out. But for me, still a very good unit, and obviously a really fun one to use. I think his EZA was really good, and they've really given him a good chance in the current meta. But that's it from me. I'll see you guys in the next video. Until then, take care, stay safe, and as always, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. So take care, stay safe, and bye.